John 5:12. Interrogaverunt ergo eum, quis est ille homo qui dixit tibi tolle grabatum tuum et ambula. Therefore they asked him, who is that man who said to you, take up your mat and walk? We're continuing now as the man who's just been healed by Jesus is being interrogated, we might say, echoing our first word in Latin here about what has just happened and who has done it. Most of the sentence is a rehash of words and phrases we've seen before, particularly tolle grabatum tuum et ambula. That's a direct quotation and a rehashing of what we've just seen in the previous verses. The quotation proper within which that quotation exists begins at quis est ille. Nothing too difficult here. Quis est ille, who is that person or that man? Who is he who said to you? We've got, again, there our dative of the person to whom words are spoken that we see so often with different personal pronouns. Nothing terribly challenging there. We might take a moment, though, just to focus in on interrogaverunt. This is a third-person plural, perfect active indicative from interrogo, to ask, to inquire, to seek to find out from someone. And I just thought it would be fun to review, or perhaps to learn for the first time, a batch of words related to making requests. Rogo, of course, you can see interrogo is a development from this verb originally, rogo. And that's probably the most basic and common word for making some kind of inquiry or asking for something in Latin. If we're talking about asking for something, rather than just asking a question, and again, rogo and interrogo are probably going to be the most common words we see for that. If we want to ask for something, though, all three of these words are quite common as well. Maybe you've seen them before, maybe you haven't. Obsecro, belonging to the first conjugation, peto from the third, and postulo from the first. These are all words that we can use to describe the act of seeking to obtain something, either an object or even an action. For instance, I ask you to look in on my grandmother, something like that, often with an ut clause. There's lots of different ways to do it in Latin. But these last three are words that we use when we're looking to obtain something from someone. They're not precise synonyms. Let me just be clear about that. You should look each of these up in a dictionary and note some of the subtle differences between them and when one is used but not another and so forth. And that's part of the fun of learning Latin vocabulary, I find, is learning not just how to express oneself in a basic way in the language, in writing or in speaking, but actually learning the subtle shades of meaning which characterize one word but not another, and how they differ and so forth. So treat yourself to some dictionary time and look each of those up and get some idea of how they differ. It would take too long to cover it just in this video, but each of those can be used for seeking to obtain something from someone with, again, different slight variations in meaning. Interrogo is one you're never going to forget, not only because it's one of those easy first conjugation verbs, but because it looks so much like our English-derived word for seeking, in our case, in the English language, seeking aggressively to find something out from someone. And of course, that sense does sort of fit here because these Jewish leaders are quite intent on getting to the bottom of this affair because they feel threatened, of course, as we know from the context.